Republicans voted on a bill known as H.R. 1, signifying that it's the party's top priority. H.R. 1 is an energy bill. Energy is a topic where Republicans have really gone after the Biden administration, saying that the Biden administration's policy has been hurting American families. This is sort of their answer to that, their response. It has a lot of different components. It bolsters oil and gas. It seeks to speed up the approval process timeline for energy projects. That's things like roads and bridges and pipelines. They want to get those things approved faster in this country to build out the energy infrastructure. They also are hoping to boost mining in addition and repeal some programs in the Democrats' climate bill known as the Inflation Reduction Act that they say are wasteful spending. The Republican legislation seeks to bolster fossil fuels in a number of ways. It will require the Interior Department to hold at least 4 lease sales per year in several different states for onshore oil and gas drilling. It also seeks to reduce the rates that companies pay to the government to drill offshore for oil and gas. It would bar any kind of pause on fracking, and it seeks to make it easier for the US to ship liquefied natural gas abroad. In permitting reform, the legislation aims to reduce the timelines for environmental reviews. If you are trying to get an energy project through, there has to be an environmental assessment or an environmental impact statement to detail what the impacts of this project are going to be on the environment in nearby communities. And Republicans are trying to get that cut down both in terms of time and in terms of the number of pages to make the process simpler. They say that this is going to be important for building out the country's infrastructure. Democrat opponents say that this might cut communities out of the process, and they're worried that it will help jam harmful projects through more quickly. It also limits the amount of time at which someone can file a lawsuit against a project. On mining, the bill requires an assessment of economic impacts before the Interior Department can block mining in certain areas of federal lands, and it seeks to make it easier for uranium to be included on a list of critical minerals. It also aims to repeal several portions of the Inflation Reduction Act, which is, again, Democrats' climate, tax, and healthcare bill. Specifically, it would repeal a program that aims to reduce methane emissions from the oil and gas sector through both incentives and fees. It also seeks to repeal a program through which the EPA would help fund climate-friendly projects in different communities. Republicans are really pushing for this bill, for political reasons as well as for policy reasons. On the politics side, Republicans have really gone after the Biden administration on energy and said that their energy policy is bad, and they want to show that they have an answer to that they have an alternative. And they also want to make it easier to develop energy in this country, especially in terms of fossil fuels. They want to bolster fossil fuels, and this is a bill that would do that. They also have said they want to speed up the energy approval process in this country. Some Democrats also want to speed up the energy approval process in this country. Senator Joe Manchin is a champion of that, and there are bipartisan talks that are ongoing. Last year, Senator Manchin had tried to get a permitting bill across the finish line, but Republicans said that it wasn't good enough. So there are Democrats who do want pieces of this, and some Democrats would argue that permitting reform is important not just for fossil fuel projects, but also to bolster the development of renewable energy and other climate-friendly infrastructure that they think is important. Democrats also oppose portions that would repeal parts of the Inflation Reduction Act. Some Democrats also oppose this push to speed up the energy approval process, also known as permitting reform, because they say that it could cut communities out of the process and that community input is important in order to make sure that polluting projects don't spring up in communities where they're not wanted. This legislation is not expected to be taken up by the Senate. In the Senate, you need 60 votes to pass something anyway, and there's just not the Democratic votes for this kind of proposal. The White House has said that President Biden would veto the bill if it made it to his desk, but the legislation is not expected to get that far, as it's not expected to be taken up by the Senate.